I can do it in 2 degrees. Zidania was in Dune with Josh Brolin. Josh Brolin was in The Hollow Man with Kevin Bacon. What's that got to do with books? Hi, I'm Michael Evers, and this is Fit to be Read. It is time once again for another original book tag. As I'm sure you are all aware, we are all just separated by no more than 6 degrees of separation. You might also be aware that there is a pop cultural phenomenon. It's a little dated now, but there is an idea that we can connect any celebrity to Kevin Bacon. So this tag is going to lean very heavily into that. There aren't any hard, fast rules here, but we're going to talk about books, and then we're also going to talk about BookTubers. So this is a book tag and a tag challenge. Also, before I begin, I'm going to tag a few people that are not mentioned in the video because they're not part of the 6 degrees, but I do want to tag them: Steve Donahue, Jolene Reeds, The Bookish Mom, Bibliofilth, David Wiley, Jeremy Fee, The Booktube Goddess, Scientists Reading World, Epic Tales, and The Broken Spine. So you're all tagged as well. Let's get started. We're going to start with books, and we're going to make 6 degrees of connection between the books. And with the final book, we're then going to make 6 degrees of connections with BookTubers. And then finally, we're going to tie it all to a connection to Kevin Bacon, proving once again that there are no more than 6 degrees of separation between any of us and Kevin Bacon. And we're going to do this because it's fun. The idea is to be as creative as you can with this. I'm going to set as a personal goal for myself to, when I make these connections, to not use the same type of connection each time. So I don't want to pick a book and then twice more pick another book based on it being, the connection being it's the same author. I want to choose different things. I'm going to start with The Star's My Destination by Alfred Bester. This is one of my favorite books. It's published in 1956. It follows Gully Foyle, who is this detestable anti-hero, anti-protagonist who is left in space. He's in space, he's stranded, and another ship comes by and just leaves him. So this gets him enraged because he almost dies there. He goes through some crazy stuff to get back to Earth, and when he gets there, he's out for vengeance. And this drives the whole narrative of the story. He is a really terrible person. In some ways we root for him, in some ways we just don't care about him because he's a terrible person. But it's a really well-written story by Alfred Bester. It's excellent. There's one really small part in this where he's at this like kind of passing through this zoo carnival. He's on the run. He's escaped prison. And there are these like crazy creations of fantastical beasts that are humans who have been biologically enhanced or changed in some way. And he sees this one guy, which for lack of a better term, we'll just call a merman. So that's going to be my first connection to H.G. Wells's The Island of Dr. Moreau. So in Dr. Moreau, which is published in 1896, there are also some human and beast genetic manipulation stuff going on. And that is going to be my next connection, which is sort of the same, the biogenetics manipulation stuff. That's going to bring me to Samuel R. Delaney's Babel 17. In Babel 17, we follow Ryger Wong. She's a linguist. And this linguist, Ryger Wong, she is a spaceship captain as well. And she is the key, potentially, to winning the war against the invaders, because they have this mysterious language or this mysterious code that only she can decipher. And if she can decipher it, that could be the key to winning the war or changing the tides of the war. And she has to recruit a crew. And in her attempts to recruit a crew, she attends this like crazy wrestling match, and it's in a stadium in the sky. And the pilot that she's looking at, who she's assessing, is this gigantic pilot who has been enhanced genetically. He has some animalian traits. Okay, so you're catching the gist here. So that's going to take me to Babel 17. Now I'm going to lean into Ryder Wong being a linguist and this novel being a reflection of some of Samuel R. Delaney's views about the Sapir-Whorf theory on linguistics. And that's going to connect me to Neal Stephenson's Snow Crash, published in 1992, because it's very linguistic heavy as well. Probably the least exciting part of Snow Crash for me was the linguistic elements in it. The more exciting part are the protagonist, hero protagonist, and YA. YA is a courier. She rides on this like futuristic skateboard called a plank, and she's pooning vehicles to get around. That means she shoots this cable with a magnetic end onto vehicles, and it like kind of tows her around like she's water skiing. Hero protagonist is a hacker. He works for the CIA sometimes as a contractor. He's a pizza delivery guy for the mafia. This is a dystopian world where corporations have sort of taken over and have divided up the United States into different little, what they're called burpclaves. Very exciting story, but the underlying plot is relative to the linguistic idea that there is this ancient Sumerian tablet that is being used to create a virus both in the metaverse and also in the real world. And people who read these words or see these words or are exposed to this thing called snow crash, this virus, it destroys them in the metaverse, of course, but it also hacks their brains and turns them into crazy people speaking in tongues because they can't understand language. My next degree of separation is going to be then the genre of cyberpunk. Snow Crash is a very classic cyberpunk novel, and another cyberpunk novel is going to bring me back to Samuel R. Delany, and that is his novel Nova, published in 1968. Nova is a really interesting story. Just like Babel 17, it has a really wild and crazy cast of characters. It is a cyberpunk novel, although Samuel Delany does not often get credit as being one of the sort of godfathers of that subgenre. He certainly is. If you look at cyberpunk as being something that is set in a dystopian, dark, noir type of world with characters that are punk or outcast, misfits, degenerates, dissenters, marginalized individuals, and then you look at the cyber element, something that is rooted in computer culture. I mean, these characters are called cyborg studs. When you hear cyborg studs, you know you're looking at cyberpunk. These cyborg studs have sockets in their wrists and in the base of their spine so that they can plug into computers and to the artificial intelligence and control them. So this is absolutely a cyberpunk novel. It's so much more than that too, but it absolutely is one of the really first early true representations of cyberpunk. But on this one, I'm going to lean on the dystopian element because that's going to connect us our next degree of separation to The Wind-Up Girl by Paolo Bacigalupi. The Wind-Up Girl is absolutely a dystopian novel. It's set in Bangkok, future Bangkok, and calories are king. The calorie and seed and agricultural companies rule everything. It's like if Monsanto took over the world. And there's a lot of really interesting stories. There's really 4 stories that are sort of coming together, different character point of views. We have Emiko, who is a wind-up girl. That doesn't mean that you wind her up and she goes, but that's what it looks like. These new people, these wind-ups, which are illegal in Bangkok and many places, they're created in Japan to basically serve as geishas. Their whole role in life is to please others, and they're genetically constructed to do that, but they move like a wind-up toy. That's sort of a giveaway. So she's in this terrible situation where she's in Bangkok, and this really dirty, seedy, dirtbag club owner basically owns her because he's paid bribes to the powers that be to enable her to work in his sex club, and horrible things are done to her. We follow her journey as we hope that she can escape to this rumored village of outcast wind-ups, I think to the north of the city. There's another character, the Tiger of Bangkok, who is raging against these Farangs, who are these detestable, opportunistic businessmen from mostly the seed companies. And he's trying to throw a wrench in the works for what they're trying to do because he wants to save his Bangkok, even though Bangkok is completely corrupt. It's a really, really good story, and I highly recommend it. I talked about it more in my recent Top 10 Cyberpunk Novels video, so check that out. Now, how about this for my next connection? The Wind-Up Girl by Paolo Bacigalupi, published in 2009. Because the author's name is Paolo, I'm going to use my son Paolo as my next connection to Ready Player One. My son doesn't like to read a lot of traditional science fiction. It's a struggle just to get him to read manga, but now he's getting a little bit more into that. But his favorite book is Ready Player One. He's read that book 5 times. He's watched the movie 3 times. He's listened to the audiobook 2 or 3 times. So I'm going to go with Ready Player One. So that gives me all of my degrees of separation. And that's going to bring me to my YouTube BookTubers Tag Challenge. My first YouTuber BookTuber tag is going to go to somebody who reviewed Ready Player One. So there's my first connection, my first degree of separation, and that's going to be Alex Nieves. Alex Nieves mostly reviews fantasy books, and I've caught some of his episodes as I do like to watch fantasy booktube. I don't read a lot of fantasy, but I get my fill of it watching some of these booktubers, and he's reviewed Ready Player One. Ready Player One also has a Kurt Vonnegut reference, so my next connection is going to be Kurt Vonnegut, which takes me to Jonathan at Words in Time. Really great science fiction channel. Check it out. Jonathan reviews and reads a lot of the same books that I read, and he does a wonderful, wonderful job with it. And he's a big fan of Kurt Vonnegut. So that gets us to Jonathan. So Jonathan is my next tag. And Jonathan, not only does he like Kurt Vonnegut, he also liked Dark Matter. I know that's a story he liked a lot by Blake Crouch. You know who else likes Dark Matter? Eric from Break Even Books. He likes Dark Matter. And he also liked Illuminae. Who else likes Illuminae? Let me tell you, Impression Blend. And so I'm also going to tag Impression Blend. Check out both of these channel, Break Even Books, Impression Blend. Interesting also about Impressive Blend is she not only reviews books, she also reviews movies. Probably reviews movies actually more than books. But guess who else reviews books and also movies? Sometimes. Mike from Mike's Book Reviews. And I also know that Mike likes Quentin Tarantino movies. So that's going to be my connection to Kevin Bacon. So let's see how quickly we can connect Quentin Tarantino to Kevin Bacon. Here we go. So Quentin Tarantino directed Inglourious Basterds with Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt also starred in Sleepers with Kevin Bacon. That's my tag for today. We connected these books to these booktubers, and we connected all of them to Kevin Bacon. Thank you for watching today. If you were tagged in this video, please do this tag and let me know that you're doing it. This was a lot of fun to put together. I'd love to see what books you come up with and then which booktubers you're going to tag.